Well, I'm delighted to be joined by Joshua Neil Boss today. Joshua, welcome.
Hi, Paul. Thanks for having me on.
Now, Joshua, you are one of our two Professor Simon and Mrs. Deirdre Gaskell music scholars, very important scholarships from our former principal and his wife. And you're particularly important in music making in the university as leader of Bart's and the London Orchestra, Queen Mary Orchestra, and co-leader of the Chamber Ensemble, which is our sort of flagship chamber orchestra. That's a lot of work, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I think of it less as an obligation and more of just a pleasure to be a part of. Music means quite a lot to me, so it has always been my intention to, I don't know, get involved with as much as I could possibly get involved with.
And what is the degree that you're studying?
Medicine.
So that's a surprising combination, because the amount of time involved in studying medicine is not an inconsiderate one, is it?
No, it is not at all.
No. So, but music is very important to you for the reasons that we know. When did music begin in your life?
So I got my first violin when I was 6 years old. I got it for Christmas after asking my parents for one for about, I don't know, 2 or 3 years before I ended up getting it. I can't really remember why I wanted it. I think I must have seen a violinist on TV or something, and I must have become fixated on it. But for whatever reason, I wanted one. I eventually got one, and I just took it from there.
And you're a very good violinist. Did playing the violin come naturally to you?
Well, I mean, as with anything, you have to work on it. It was always something I enjoyed. So enjoying it, if you enjoy something, you put work into it and you get better.
Absolutely. And tell me about your early days of music making, particularly with orchestras, perhaps. I know you played with the Stoneleigh Youth Orchestra. Tell us a little bit about the Stoneleigh Youth Orchestra and what you did with them.
Well, I mean, I was involved with them in some capacity for almost 10, maybe even more than 10 years. So they have a training orchestra, which is for people who aren't quite as, I guess, as musically developed. So I joined their training orchestra when I was about 9 or 10, I think. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I was with their training orchestra for about 2 or 3 years. Then I moved up to their main orchestra, and I don't know, it's just playing in a youth orchestra was such a great opportunity to be introduced to such a wide variety of orchestral music. And
obviously, youth orchestras, the way in which they are function is quite an intense amount of rehearsal in a limited space of time, isn't it?
Well, I mean, the orchestra I was with, they rehearsed for they instead of having sort of intensive courses, it was a weekly rehearsal. So on Sunday we'd rehearse from, I think, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m.
I see.
And we'd work on that for about a school term or so, and then we'd have a concert.
And tell us a bit about the repertoire that you covered. What pieces stay in your mind?
Oh, all sorts of things. So a few, I mean, obviously a few composers that I like, obviously as a child, effectively, I wouldn't have known about it if it hadn't been for me playing in that orchestra. So composers like Arnold, Sibelius, Mahler, it just gave me such an appreciation for the scope of all of their work.
A lot of the great repertoire indeed, particularly with composers such as that. Do you have a particular memory of one particular event that you might say, oh gosh, I'll never forget that?
Is this with regards to anything, or Stony Youth Orchestra in particular?
It could be with regards to anything. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. I mean, one of the things I'm most proud of, as a as a musician, I had the great privilege to be part of the last night of the proms in 2016,
Oh.
playing a commissioned piece of work um, in their youth ensemble that they put together in the summer, and just sort of being able to play at that level with some of the best young musicians in the country, alongside the BBC Symphony Orchestra, was an amazing experience.
That's the sort of thing that you just will never forget throughout your life. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about being a musician. You do get to do things and play in events that many people would not do. So all of that dedicated hard work and practice can pay off.
Well,
Now,
I always
how
find it the most fun playing with people who are so much better than you.
well, that is always a joy.
Yeah.
How is this particular year is a particularly challenging one, but how valuable is music to you as a person, and how valuable is it this year?
Well, obviously this year, everyone's stuck inside. Everyone doesn't have anything better to do. I think during the summer, during the end of the, well, what seemed to be an endless sort of period that still continues now, it was a great opportunity to find some new repertoire and just even if you're not confident you'll ever be able to perform it, just have a go at it. And I think that I really enjoyed just doing that. And
Can you imagine a life without music?
um, not really, not really.
And so, obviously, you're going into medicine, and you're looking to be a doctor in some way. I know you're in your third year, so it's difficult to say exactly which direction you're going in. But how do you want music to be part of your life in the future?
Well, I intend to do something like what I'm doing now, just take advantage of any opportunity you have. Um, if you find a group of people who are eager on making music, go for it. I mean, I was very fortunate to be introduced to Stephen Brearley, who is the conductor of the London Doctors Orchestra, and so in my first year and my second year, I played in concerts for run by the London Doctors Orchestra, knowing that there's groups like that out there. I think that will hopefully give me the opportunity in the future to keep doing what I enjoy.
Indeed, and in fact, this last year, obviously this particular last year, but in normal circumstances, not only would you be involved in the Queen Mary orchestras that we have, but you'd been involved, I think, in the University of London Symphony Orchestra as well. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
So really, 5 orchestras on the go and doing a medical degree, quite exceptional. Now, you've chosen 3 pieces that you want to share with us. And I think they all have some relevance to your past and your involvement, perhaps, with Stoneleigh Youth Orchestra. Where do you
Yeah.
want to begin?
So the first one I guess I'd like to talk about is Dvorak's Ninth Symphony from the New World. I remember it was the first, well, one of the first pieces of repertoire I worked on when I just joined the main orchestra.
And your second choice?
Another one I played during my time at Stoneleigh, Sibelius's Second Symphony. I'd never even heard of Sibelius at the time I played it, but just working on a piece like that for over a period of time, you get such an appreciation for work like that. And I mean, I don't think at the time I fully appreciated it, but at the concert, it's when everything came together and everything about the piece just clicked. And I don't know. It's one
It
of my
can
all-time
often do
favorite
that.
symphonies.
It can often do that, can't it? And that moment when you're in the actual concert, even
Yeah,
when the preparation, sometimes there's an anxiety that things might go wrong. The adrenaline manages to carry you through, and concentration can
yeah.
be that much better, can't it? And more focused. And finally, you've chosen a chamber work. What is that?
That is Schubert's Death and the Maiden quartet.
And tell us a little bit
Um,
about that and why you've chosen that.
well, it's one that I probably was aware of it before, but a few years ago I was sent to Jacksonville, Florida for some medical treatment. And while I was there, I visited the city of St. Augustine, and they had a classical music festival. And the music festival, for whatever reason, the day I was there, the whole repertoire was Schubert chamber works.
Oh.
And yeah, I remember hearing it and hearing how powerful it was, and sort of being in that sort of unfamiliar setting. It just gave me some grounding, being able to hear some truly great music, and it gave me a huge appreciation for the works of Schubert, who I appreciated before, but it really sort of instilled in me quite a passion for Schubert's other works as well.
Indeed, I know, because we were going to do one of the Schubert symphonies this year, weren't we? Before we were so rudely interrupted by COVID.
Yeah.
Joshua, it's been a total pleasure talking with you as ever, and we look forward to following the links to those three works. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Paul.